Chapter 19. Emma. "How long are you going to hide from him?" Carrie asked Emma as they rolled out dough to make cookies. It was Saturday afternoon, a time when the girls tried to bake and talk, though usually Jenny was scurrying around their feet as they did. Today she had gone with Pa and the boys into town to pick up a few things. "I don't know what you're talking about," Emma said, averting her gaze and pretending to focus on the rolling pin. "Yes, you do. It's been nearly a week since you went to the picnic with Carl, and you've barely left the house since." Emma sighed. "He was a great friend once, but now he's obsessed with marrying me, and I just can't do it." "Because of William?" Carrie teased with a knowing smile. "It's stupid, right?" Emma asked. "I ran him off by not listening to him, and now I can't stop thinking about him. I tell myself it would never work, but I can't deny the attraction was there. Maybe not quite the same as Joseph, but close, and I never thought I would find that again." A look of sympathy covered Carrie's face. "Maybe he'll come back," she offered half-heartedly. "I know he cared about you." Emma shook her head and rolled her eyes. "No, my impetuousness has finally caught up to me. I need to get used to the fact that he's really gone and move on. But I can't marry Carl just to marry someone. I'll just have to hope that God forgives my wasting of this opportunity and grants me another." Before Carrie could reply, a knock sounded at the front door. The girls shared a look of confusion and trepidation. With the rest of the family in town, it was only the two of them in the house. While Patience did come to the house on occasion, it didn't happen often. "I'll get the rifle," Emma said. "Why don't you go hide in our room?" Though fear shone in Carrie's green eyes, she shook her head resolutely. "No, if you're going to answer the door, then I'm coming too." "All right." Emma nodded, leading the way to the front door where the rifle was kept. The rapping came again as she grabbed the gun and checked to make sure it was loaded. "Carrie, on my count, open the door," Emma said, bracing the gun against her shoulder as Samuel had taught her. "Now!" Carrie swung the door open and towards her, using it almost like a shield between her and the person on the other side. "William?" Emma's voice was breathless with disbelief, and she blinked her eyes a few times to make sure she wasn't dreaming. "Hi, Emma," he said, as a crooked smile graced his lips. "Thanks for not shooting me, but are you going to make me stand out here all day, or are you going to invite me in?" His voice sounded different, a little scratchier, and the bandage around his neck didn't look like the ones her father used, but it was William all the same. Still not trusting her eyes, Emma eased the hammer back down and nodded. "Of course, come in." She lowered the gun and leaned it against the wall. "Hi, Carrie," William said as he stepped over the threshold and closed the door behind him. A moment of awkward silence fell as the girls looked at William and waited for an explanation. He cleared his throat and shoved his hands in his pockets. If Emma hadn't known better, she would have sworn William was nervous. But she had never seen him nervous. Did bounty hunters even feel nervous? William stared at his boots as he gathered his courage. Emma hadn't kicked him out already, so that was a good sign. Maybe Carrie or one of the other family members had told her his side of the story. Still, just because she was being civil didn't mean she felt as he did, and that was the scary part. What if he had ridden all the way out here to confess his feelings, only to find out she was no longer interested? What would he do then? "I suppose you're wondering why I'm here," he said slowly, as he raised his eyes to meet Emma's. "The thought had crossed my mind." She gave him a small smile. That smile bolstered his courage, and William took a step in her direction. "I came back for you, Emma. I know we didn't leave on good terms, and I thought I could forget you.
But the whole time I was bringing Monroe in, you were all I could think of. I don't know how you got in my head, Emma Stewart, but I can't seem to get you out."
"Oh," Carrie sighed, grabbing both Emma's and William's attention. "That's so romantic." "Out," Emma said to Carrie, pointing to the kitchen before grabbing William's arm and leading him to the living room. She sat on the couch and motioned for him to sit beside her, which William did willingly. He longed to reach out and take her hand, but he restrained himself. "I can't believe you came back." Her eyes were focused on her lap, and her voice was barely more than a whisper. "I thought I was justified in my anger at you, but even before Carrie told me the whole story, I began to regret pushing you away. Of course, by the time I swallowed my pride, you were already gone." Her eyes flicked up to his. "I honestly never thought I'd see you again." It was the invitation he needed. He could see her heart in her jade eyes, and he reached for her hand, enjoying the delicate feel of her skin against his.
"I wasn't sure I would ever see you again either," he said, "but as I lay in the hospital bed healing this week, I found that I didn't care about the money or the adrenaline any longer. I only cared about you."
Emma's eyes widened, and her gaze shifted to the bandage around his neck. "Did you re-injure it?" His lips pulled into a tight smile. He had to tell her, but he hoped the truth wouldn't scare her away.
"I didn't get out of the way fast enough when a fight broke out in a saloon. The punch shifted some bullet fragments and cut off my air supply. They were forced to do a tracheotomy until I could breathe again, but they think they got all the pieces this time. I'll always have a scar, Emma, and I don't know that there won't be complications later. I know I'm not offering you much, but I'm offering you all I have."
Tears shimmered in Emma's eyes as she shook her head. "You stupid man. I don't care about a scar or complications. My father is a doctor, remember? I'm just glad you're okay." William wiped a tear from her eye and let his hand linger on her cheek. She sighed and leaned against it for a moment before jerking up. "I can't leave Sage Creek, though, William. I'm not the kind of woman who would enjoy the life of a bounty hunter."
"I guess it's a good thing I gave it up then,"
he said with a smile. And then, even though he knew he probably shouldn't, William leaned forward and touched Emma's lips with his own. It was only a moment, but it was enough to solidify any lingering doubts he had. This woman was his future.